Yeah, hey, Jim, I'm excited about this next segment. Amanda Traxler is going to provide her insights on the Defense Health Agency's migration to the cloud and how their success affects the greater vision of cloud migration. So without any further ado, welcome, Amanda.
Thanks for giving me the chance to speak about this. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see, there we go. It should be on full screen now. Excuse me for a second. Let me erase.
You're good.
Okay, great. So last month, I just finished a project. I was part of a team that was working on the 5th generation for TRICARE, T5. And we were working for Humana Military, who is the current incumbent for the East region, which is, you see it here on the right. For T5, the East region is actually going to change. I think it's 6 states are going to formally move over, I think, into the West region, but you get the idea. You know, the military healthcare is divided into, you know, the East and the West region. And so right now, as the incumbent, Humana Military helps provide healthcare services to about 6.6 million of the 9.5 million TRICARE beneficiaries. And these beneficiaries are active duty service members, active duty family members, you know, retirees, as well as other, you know, other types of beneficiaries, but you get the idea. So as one of the writers for this project, I covered sections that included interoperability, IT, and security. And part of the reason for that is I always love the chance to do those sections because prior to joining SMA, I had the chance in 2017 to do a white paper for a startup that was that basically migrates legacy applications to the cloud through containers, or what now is more commonly known as cloud native technologies. So I just want to put that out there because even though I'm not an expert on it, after having done that white paper, it really sparked kind of a larger interest in me in sort of infrastructure operations generally, in terms of the amazing capabilities that it can bring to the table for every industry, you know, not just healthcare and not just military healthcare. Okay, so anyway, back to, for this project, you know, the word interoperability, I actually did a search yesterday in the RFP. It appears 14 times, you know, in the 200-page RFP. So for 200 pages, it kind of seems like it's, you know, not that big of a deal. And what I've pasted in are a couple of the example lines about the interoperability. You know, a CMS regulation about interoperability standards, you know, and interoperability standards that promote, you know, information sharing between providers. So I just kind of want to throw that out there as the background before this next slide. We kind of step away, and I'm just going to cover really what's been happening in the IT world. And again, I'm not an expert, so I did a search yesterday of LinkedIn and was able to find an expert that summarized what's been happening sort of in the IT world from a digital transformation perspective in a way that really made sense to me and that I thought could be useful for this presentation. So as the individual, his name is, I'm going to botch this because he's French, Didier Bonnet. He's a professor of strategy and digital transformation at a business school, and he had been a consultant at Capgemini before. So digital transformation, I'm just going to say that depending on, you know, what level of the IT stack you're talking about, whether you're at the software level or the platform level or the infrastructure level, whether you're supply side, talking about the consumers, B2B, I mean, it means very, very different things. But generally, I really liked how he talked about digital transformation as a first wave from the 2010s, and the second wave right now, the 2020s. And this article that I did find on LinkedIn was actually published in 2020. So it was kind of like on that cusp of, you know, the first wave, and we're about to go into the second wave. And so again, just this really high level definition of the first wave of digital transformation. I liked his sentence that the early developments of digital transformation, we entered an era where technological development is indissociable. I've never even seen that word, from any part of business and competition. And the way that I translate that in my mind is that basically anything about the infrastructure is no longer just support for a business strategy. The infrastructure now becomes, in a sense, the business strategy, or it could, it could become, like, that's kind of the ideal state. And to draw that out more thematically, I think it becomes clear when he's talking about this second wave that we're now in. And he literally says, you've got these technologies of the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, and 5G, and how that's going to continue to drive digital transformation, and it's going to become even more powerful. And this line, excuse me, I didn't mean to go to the next slide, but I had highlighted in red that this second wave is going to even create new sources of value using these general purpose technologies. And so again, this was just a broad presentation that really applies, to all industries. We see this everywhere and in our daily lives. So now I'm going to kind of take this back down to just the Defense Health Agency generally, and just do a quick review of who they are and what they're about. So they were established in 2011 to reorganize the healthcare programs and services. Their goals are to integrate the direct medical system, which is, the MTFs, literally the military's health system, and the purchased care healthcare system, which is what Humana Military, as one of the incumbent healthcare providers, is for the East region. And what they want to accomplish is what they call the quadruple aim. And I've got that pasted, the improving the patient experience, improving population health, reducing costs, and improving the work life of the healthcare providers. So with all of that background, kind of disparate, but it all does come together, at least I hope. Now I'm going to sort of dig into the topic itself, which was what DHA did in 2020, its cloud migration, and how that then relates to everything that I just kind of threw out there, if you will. So it was in June, and I think we were about at the Pink Team review, and for some reason, because of my interoperability section, I just remember I was doing a Google search about just this, interoperability and DHA. And I came across an article that is where I learned about what DHA had done in 2020. And it's on the screen in front of you. It's they called it the Accelerated Migration Project, AMP. And it was originally in 2019 was supposed to have been an 18-month migration to migrate petabytes of healthcare data to the cloud. But when COVID happened, it changed the scope of it entirely. So, and what it did, and oops, sorry, I didn't mean to go to that screen as well. Just my little arrow. Excuse me. So I know this is going to sound really techy, but I'm just going to sort of, just go through it really quickly. So what the migration literally was is it was 20 outside vendors, taking 60 of their applications and restructuring it to 14 cloud native services with this massive amount of data, and then also adding in the fact that you have a cybersecurity layer specific to the DoD. And they did this in 93 days. And when I read those facts, just because I had done that white paper that I referred to earlier back in 2017 for the company that provides these services, my mind was blown. And I literally just thought, okay, wait, has something changed in the last 4 years? Because that is just an unbelievable cloud migration. So I thought, okay, well, this isn't my expertise. So I actually texted, I'm still in contact with the CEO of that company. I actually texted him and I just put those facts in there, the 60 separate applications, this time frame, 93 days, everything I just told you. I said, that's sort of astonishing, right? And he was just like, yes. So that was really, it just blew my mind, kind of learning that. It made me realize that, that they had accomplished something that was really, really remarkable during COVID, during 2020. And so again, there was an 84% reduction in the original schedule because it was supposed to be 18 months. It happened in 93 days. And I even found this quote. So AWS, Amazon Web Services, they host the cloud that the DHA is using, their .gov, again, that cybersecurity that needs to be specific to the DoD. I found a piece of collateral where the AWS professional services senior manager said that this, cloud migration was literally the fastest type that AWS has ever conducted in its own history. So yeah, just a really groundbreaking, exciting stuff of what they pulled off. So that was sort of, when Elizabeth asked me if there was anything that I, would be interested in discussing about the project, I just thought, well, given my fascination with all things data and the cloud, I thought, yep, I'll talk about that, probably a little bit inelegantly, but bear with me. So they just did this cloud journey, which I've obviously said I think is amazing. So there are implications to this cloud journey, and the first and most obvious one is that you're just upgrading your IT stack with the new capabilities that technology allows, right? And to that end, DHA, I have on the right, the DHA is going to avoid the hardware refresh costs for the 300 legacy on-prem physical services. But the second part of the implication of the cloud journey, and this is the part that I just think is, the cat's meow type thing. And I'm going back to that expert that I found, the professor, former Capgemini consultant. The new sources of value that are now made possible from this journey to the cloud. And oops, I missed the opening quote, but this is literally a quote here on the left from that professor where he says, these technologies can now generate very good or very bad outcomes for people, corporations, and society. And then I also, again, drew from the case study of SpinSys, which I guess was one of the vendors who partnered with AWS, probably a couple others for this migration. And this was how they described the migration in their case study. They literally tell you that, that they've jump-started the DHA's future in cloud computing, and what I have highlighted again is what I want to bring home. It's going to let the DHA use these evolving technologies that have become possible with the cloud, the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, the NLP, the natural language processing, which is a type of machine learning. And all of that is going to support the DHA in delivering on the quadruple aim. And so it's sort of like, okay, well, like how, I guess, in a way, and this is where I think it just becomes so super exciting. There's so many examples, and it's just going to keep continuing to advance as more technology like comes alive or available, if you will. But I just found this great slide that talked about value adds that are made possible by the Internet of Medical Things. You'll remember earlier it was IoT, just Internet of Things, applying to all industries. But when you're talking about healthcare, it gets that M in there. You get your medical things now. And Internet of Medical Things, it makes possible all these little colorful boxes that are on your screen. And just for the sake of an example, though, like a digital control over a disease that is made possible, one example that always comes to mind for me is a scale that is connected. So it's, the actual weights on the scale will, go back to a health record. And the reason that I bring that up and how that can help provide digital control over a disease is when you have a patient who has advanced congestive heart failure, one of the ways that you can immediately tell or be warned, or I guess, that the congestive heart failure has moved to a more advanced, serious stage is when a patient will wake up the next day, and not even a patient, it could be the person at home, wakes up the next day and their weight has literally jumped 5, 7, 10 pounds. And what it usually is, the reason why that's an indicator is because it's water weight, and it's swelling, and it's all on the heart because the congestive heart failure is happening. And when you have, if you're a patient who has that, having a scale that is able to just send that data back and immediately notify a healthcare practitioner or whoever that you woke up the next morning and you're now 10 pounds more. It can literally help save lives by getting ahead of the attack that could be coming and land one in the hospital. So that's just one example, and then you've also got your Fitbits. I mean, there's so many examples of how Internet of Medical Things will be applied now and in the future. So I'd also mentioned the artificial intelligence and machine learning, which artificial intelligence is usually the broad term, I think. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think machine learning is a type of artificial intelligence. And this is actually a very old slide from 2015 from the MHS, but I still thought that it applied because it just gave these really concrete examples of how machine learning can be used to support healthcare. And I really liked this example that was given in the bottom left because it's so specific to the DHA and delivering care, for soldiers, because talking about how machine learning can be used to help identify more quickly possible TRICARE beneficiaries who, because of what PTSD and maybe perhaps other comorbid behavioral conditions, are now at risk for suicide. I mean, just obviously a huge concern. And if data and the cloud and all of that can help on that end, obviously awesome. Up in the left, preventing heart attacks by having pacemakers. Up on the right, what that is, it's talking about the free text physician notes. And so that's going to be, in terms of data, that's something called unstructured data, which, is another new amazing capability that the cloud is making possible, because that data is not, because it's unstructured, the ability, though, to still be able to digest and find the insights that are in the physician's handwritten notes. That's just another huge capability, which is I'm just going to stop there because I don't know enough about how that works. But the overarching point, though, is what the cloud makes possible is to bring together what the variety of data types. So all of these data types can be united and holistic and provide insights together. Versus the problem before, you might have this patient's numbers for their clinical tests, but the physician notes, no, they're not merged. You don't see the whole picture. So I hope that makes sense. And then the bottom right, again, sort of an artificial intelligence function. It's just sort of clear that all of these implications are just enormous in terms of really meeting the quadruple aim and, in keeping with that idea of the second wave of digital translation.
Amanda, this is absolutely incredible. We really appreciate you sharing this with us. We're really at the top of the hour. Can you take us to kind of your summary statement?
Well, so this last slide is really the summary statement. And it's just sort of, and again, obviously not my slide, but it's just sort of like, and what this kind of even means for the future. And what I thought was so cool here is you've even got like, what happens like in operational in the field of literally on the battlefield, and how this can even then just way down the road, you can have virtual critical care and virtual ICU, and you can help provide, just the cloud is a component of making all of these amazing future state things like come to life. And so it's just some really exciting stuff. And that's the type of capabilities that the incumbent Humana and us as the writers, we basically, it was on us and obviously the SMEs to present a proposal that, said, not only do we see what you've done, see where you're going, but we can help you there in terms of our own capabilities along these lines, help you with the interoperability, that only mentioned 14 times in 200 pages. But again, that interoperability is so important in terms of a purchase care provider helping the DHA meet the quadruple aim goal to, at the end of the day, just deliver better care to the 9.5 million beneficiaries of TRICARE. So
Great.
Thank you so much. Sorry if I went over.
Thank you, Amanda. No, it was a tight schedule to speak up, but really appreciate it. Awesome. And thank you for sharing with us kind of a really phenomenal achievement between DHA and Amazon Web Services. It was incredible. Thanks, Amanda.
See you later.
All right.